Hi everybody, it's meteorologist Joe Cioffi. Welcome aboard on this Monday, May the 7th, a little after 6 o'clock Eastern Time. I just want to mention that you can support my channel by using the YouTube link to shop that's on the descriptor of this video. We're a participant in the Amazon Services LLC Associates Program, which is an affiliate advertising program designed to provide a means for us to earn fees from Amazon by linking to Amazon and affiliated sites. I just want to put that out there and let you know. Thanks for being here. And we are going to start a little bit differently tonight because there are a few things going on that we need to acknowledge. So I brought up a couple of satellite pictures here. And we're almost at that time where we're going to start using those tropical loops again. But right now, the Atlantic side is very quiet, which is what you would expect. I would just point out, as much as we have seen the last few years produce late running winters into well into March and into April, the same holds true with the tropical storm and hurricane season, in that on the Atlantic side we have seen May tropical storms. I believe we had one last year, and I think we had one the year before. So over time, on the Atlantic side, there have been 22 tropical storms since 1850. 4 of them have become hurricanes. So the probability of a hurricane in May is extremely rare. 4 out of 150, roughly 160, almost 170 years. So, but again, being that we've had this tendency to see these things pop up a bit early, we are, of course, going to always be paying some attention to all this. Right now, there really isn't anything going on. What you can see on the full U.S. view, which is that picture over there, you've got this frontal boundary that's offshore. Not too much happening across the United States at this point, although we do have a little bit of an outbreak of thunderstorm activity in the western Dakotas and in parts of Montana and Wyoming. And that really is just about it. The weather in the east, pretty much okay, bit of an onshore flow. But we do have an area of interest in the Pacific, and this would be pretty much in line with the start of the Pacific hurricane season, which gets underway on May 15th, 2 weeks before the Atlantic season starts. And if you look south of the Baja Peninsula, we do have disturbed weather there, and actually the Hurricane Center is acknowledging this and indicating a 40% probability of this developing into a tropical cyclone over the next 2 to 5 days. And indeed, weather models are showing this system actually developing into at least a tropical depression or a tropical storm. Now, mind you, it's an East Pac storm, which the vast majority of them don't impact anyone, and this one will likely not impact anyone. It will just simply get the first name out of the way, but it does usher in the beginning of hurricane season. You can see how far away it is from Hawaii and how far away it is off the coast of Mexico. So the models, both the European, the GFS, and the Canadian, show this. The other takeaway with regards to this going forward is the fact that, again, and I pointed this out last week when a few people were jumping on, what models were doing with a weather system off the southeast coast, which was nonsense. They really weren't doing anything. But we're going to be now dealing with model runs that are going to start showing and spinning up systems here and there, and you want to be careful with that going forward, because you know how it is in the wintertime when you get these winter storms that show up only to have them disappear as we move through the long range. So here's the U.S. view. I think we'll go to one of the Pacific views so we can take a look at what the GFS, the new GFS, which I'm looking at with you for the first time. You can see that a little low forms out there in that disturbed weather and just kind of spins around. And indeed, the model, the GFS anyway, wants to strengthen it into a tropical storm at the very least. But again, this is something that will get lost in the Pacific, and eventually it will fall apart. It's just going to get the name out of the way. But the GFS is consistent here with developing something out in the Pacific. And if we look at the European from today, kind of did the same thing. Let me just track back here. It does it sort of spins it up that low. You can see it here. This model on these maps sometimes doesn't really show it as well as the GFS does with the precip. Unfortunately, we don't get to see it. This is the reflection of it at 5,000 feet. But if we take a look at the surface pressure here, probably will show up better here, and you can see there's a weak low that pops up out in the Pacific on the European as well. So it actually does show something out there, and there it is here as we move into the end of this week and into this weekend. Again, it gets lost in the sauce, and on the Canadian model, the same thing. Does have a low, has also something else off the coast of Mexico. You know, that's something that you know, there's probably going to be some disturbed weather out there, but we'll take them one at a time. And East Pac storms tend to move westward, especially this time of year. So we'll again, I'm just doing this mainly because we're almost at that point now where we're going to start having to pay attention to these things, and if everything goes according to the average, the normal way things are supposed to happen, you'll see an uptick in June, a little bit of a downtick in July, and then major upticks in the number of storms as we get into the peak months of August through October. I mean, that's the way it's supposed to work according to plan. Okay, so let's come back home and take a look at the U.S. and see what's happening. There really isn't a whole lot to talk about from the standpoint of day-to-day weather here. We do have action tonight in the plains. This is the one area that the Storm Prediction Center does have a risk for severe. There's a frontal boundary off the east coast and high pressure building down from eastern Canada, so that keeps things rather dry, although we'll probably see some low clouds and fog coming in. The only thing this week of consequence in the east is a weather front late this week that may produce some showers Thursday night, and then that front goes by, and it's going to set us up for a warmer pattern later in the weekend and into next week. And in fact, it looks like we may get some moisture getting involved from we'll have a front coming down from the north, if that makes it through here. This is on Mother's Day, so you can see this east-west band of showers. I'm not sure if that's going to be there. That could very well wind up being further north. A lot's going to depend on the strength of the upper ridge, and the ridge is going to build in the east here, but it's not like when it built last week when we see those temperatures getting into the 90s. Watch what happens here. It's really a flat east-west upper ridge that builds. It's not building all the way up into Canada, because if you look, there you go. If you look right up there to my left, you can see there's where the blue is in eastern Canada. So there's a strong westerly flow there that's keeping things on the flat side. So if you get some kind of upper air disturbance to rotate around in that flow, that's going to flatten that ridge out. And that's why I'm thinking it may get very warm, but we're going to have to watch for the possibility of backdoor fronts and how far south those backdoor fronts get, and whether there might be some moisture that starts to come in from the Gulf of Mexico or from the southwest Atlantic. If some of that moisture starts to get in there, we'll start to see some pop-up showers and thunderstorms. But the overall pattern to me looks, it doesn't really look overly impressive in terms of what could happen in the long range. I'm sorry, let me just get a better view here. I'll go to the North America view. And I think we should go back a model run so we can take it out far. So there's no real blocking to speak of. That means weather systems, you can see how the jet in Canada just sits there and rotates around. So the ridge builds, but it doesn't really fly all the way up to allow for what you would get, you know, a true heat wave situation. But you probably will still have above average temperatures, and you know that pretty much carries you right along through the rest of the period. The last GFS run, by the way, and I know somebody's going to mention this, but the last GFS run did show, as it has been showing on occasion over the last 3 or 4 days, something of interest in the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico, but that's not until after day 10. So I don't even think it's worth spending time on at this point. But of course, we will we'll watch over the next few days. Let's see how the whole tropical pattern evolves, and then we could figure things out from there. The lack of blocking has brought about some weather changes across Europe, in that we are seeing actually some wet weather in the form of afternoon heavy rains and thunderstorms over parts of the southern Mediterranean, around Greece, back over through Turkey, and even in through parts of Italy. The Atlantic, with this fast flow, will be sending weather systems, and here's a strong one. We're looking at this at the upper air, by the way, and notice there's a big upper high that's sitting to the east of Scandinavia, so that's kind of deflecting storminess in the Atlantic to the west, passing west of England and Ireland, but they're getting glancing blows from these things. And there's one, here's another, and this one actually will drive a surface low fairly close to Ireland and England as we move into next weekend. So we'll put the surface map on here. By the way, even before I do that, let me just roll back. I want to just look at temperatures, because it has been on the warm side in parts of England. This was yesterday, where they had temperatures in the 70s and 80s, and today again a very warm day, temperatures well up in the 70s to low 80s. Tuesday, you know, pretty warm. Much of Europe very warm indeed, except where there's probably some cloud cover issues or some rain. But as we move into Wednesday, this is Wednesday at noontime, temperatures are a little cooler now across England, and that's because of that system coming in from off the ocean, which we'll get to. So a little bit of a cool down seems to be in order here going forward as we move through this coming week. And with respect to precipitation, we can definitely show you what's going on here with this next storm system. I'm going to see if I can get the latest one. See if that's it. Okay, so I don't know, why can't I get the 18Z? I thought I could. So let's back it up a little bit and start from the beginning. There we go. So here's the latest model run. So you start to get this Atlantic. You see that big Atlantic storm, but it's well offshore of Ireland. So England and Ireland, you get a glancing round of rain on Tuesday, later Tuesday, Wednesday, and here comes a stronger gale as it moves eastward. But then it starts to stall out and weaken. But it's going to keep you in clouds and rain over England and Ireland late this week and through next week. And some of that rain does move in through Western and Central Europe, and even some snow being showing up in some of the higher elevations in parts of Switzerland and Austria. So a little bit of late season snow action there. So you're getting your warm weather with some cooler air coming. Very interesting the way. I'm so glad I started paying attention to that, because it's just it is a different world. Here's the U.S. satellite view. I'm sorry, the radar view, and you can see the area of action going on, really confined to the central Appalachians with some showers there, and we've got some showers and thunderstorms that are starting to develop over parts of eastern Wyoming. This is where the Storm Prediction Center has its risk area today. I did accidentally erase their map, so I'll bring it up at another time. But trust me, no, here it is. Is that it? No, that's the general watches and warnings map. So I guess I must have. I was moving some maps around and adding a few things. Oh, there it is. Now I lost myself. Oh, there I am. Okay. Sorry, folks. All right, so here's the Storm Prediction Center for today, and a general area of thunderstorms in the central and southern Appalachians down across the Gulf states. They look to be scattered in nature. Also in the southern half of Florida, and then as you go up into the northern plains, you're talking about a risk for thunderstorms and that marginal risk of severe weather being indicated. Southeastern Montana, northeastern Wyoming, and the western half of South Dakota, a small portion of southwestern North Dakota and northwestern Nebraska. We'll have another day tomorrow where it'll be also not too much in terms of the risk factor, but Wednesday we may see an increasing risk factor over parts of Illinois and Indiana as the next weather system begins to rev up. So there you have it. I'll come back to full screen here and get to your comments tonight. Just give me 1 second here to set that up, and let's say Karina Rivera, by the way, who has not been on for a while. I thank you. It's good to see you here. You're in Texas and you're Houston, I think, if I remember correctly, and you've got your hot weather starting. Delvin is on tonight, Mystery Gamer, Cliff Newton, good evening to you. Jason Schaefer, always here and always a regular. Raymond Timothy Veltman jumping on board. You had your rough, severe weather late last week across upstate New York, and that was on Friday. We had some here on Thursday. We didn't have very much on Friday as everything just kind of fell apart. Okay, so why is the GFS? Okay, Daniel Dust, as I indicated, this is going to be GFS noise. It really need not be taken. You don't. You really. Hang on a second. I put him in a timeout. Okay, let's see if he behaves himself. I'm not sure. You guys, I'm letting you know. I'm trusting you. I guess there's a problem. Trying to see what he's been saying. I love spending time. Okay, never mind. Here's the first one. Let's see what he says. What reflection? Okay. I always get curious about this stuff. All right, so Anthony Orr, Justified did look very good in the Derby on Saturday. Yes, they ran their odds 1, 2, and 3 in the slop, and his time form numbers were off the wall, especially considering how fast they ran that first half mile. Okay, so am I following the African dust plumes? Bill Keneally. Is that the Bill Keneally? Okay, or a reasonable facsimile thereof. Oh boy, if it is the Bill Keneally, that'd be exciting. Anyhow, well, you know, the African dust is a big factor during hurricane season, and of course, I will pay attention to it. I really didn't give it a look as far as you know what's going on now, mainly because of the fact that we you don't have a system to deal with that's we don't have any of the first disturbances coming off, but we certainly will give it a look. And even from last year, if you remember, oftentimes we're putting up satellite pictures where you could actually see the dust on it, so we'll be of course doing that again. Trying to just see what else you guys are asking. Weekend was good, Raymond. Thank you for asking. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody's weekend was great too. Gladfelter, do you I think we'll actually get a hot summer? Well, I'm assuming that you're asking the question of whether the summer will be hotter than normal. You know what I think? Honestly, I wonder, I'm just kind of, maybe just because I'm trying to, my natural tendency is to be contrary to the going flow, but I wonder whether the summer may be front-end loaded, where we wind up with hot weather early, and then it winds up turning cooler earlier, across, say, in August and September. And maybe this year we will have a situation where we don't have summer extending into September and October, much like we've been seeing over the last several years. Just a guess on my part. I'm just kind of thinking out loud. I don't know that I see anything that would support that notion. I have seen a few people mention that, but I wonder if it's time. We broke this streak that we had of I think it was something like, at least for my area anyway, 25 out of 26 months of above normal. The temperatures the last 5 out of 6 have been below average. So maybe it's time that we break the streak of late running summers and get maybe this will be the year where things will cool down sooner. But you know what? We're not even into the summer yet. We're still into spring. So let's leave it at that at this point. And I guess you guys must be seeing one of the monitors behind me. If there must have been a fire, shot of a fire there. They're putting the newscast together while I'm doing this live stream. Israel, Lakewood, New Jersey, got up to 74 with an east-northeast wind, and now finally fell back to 66. How did it possible that we got so warm with an east wind and the ocean so cold? It wasn't much of an east wind. The onshore flow was very, very light. You need a good solid push to, you certainly need at least a 15 mile an hour sustained steady wind to bring that ocean, to really get that ocean air to bring the temperatures down during the afternoon. There really wasn't a whole lot of wind. This onshore flow that we have is very weak, so it's only going to allow for low clouds and fog to develop during the nighttime and early morning hours along the coast. And then I bet you by 8 or 9 o'clock, for the most part, almost all areas except maybe right along the immediate coast will probably already be partly to mostly sunny. So the onshore flow is just too weak. Once the temperature gets high enough that you could develop a good strong sea breeze in the late afternoon, then the wind starts to pick up in terms of speed and bring the temperatures down. Saw that today even on Long Island, temperatures making up into the low 70s. And by the way, as long as the wind behaves itself this time of year, the sun is really strong now. So you're going to reflexively get up into the low 70s, or at least attempt to, unless you've got a really, really cold air mass that you're working with to keep temperatures lower, or a strong onshore flow. 110 in Phoenix, nice. Aaron Rybart. I haven't been in Phoenix in many years, but one of these days I'm going to get back to Arizona. But I'm going to do it in not in the late spring, summer, or early fall. I don't know if I want to. I did do it in the summer when it was 110, and then went to Palm Springs where it was 110. I mean, I like the dry heat, but there's only so much sauna you can take. Are we trending to an El Nino, David Schwartz? I haven't really looked what the latest is. My understanding is that we're kind of in a neutral phase at the moment. And expect it to remain close to neutral. The water temperatures were actually still colder than average out across the equatorial Pacific, but they are up just slightly below average. So they're going to have to jump up if there's going to be an El Nino. They're going to have to make a shift. I do not own an RV, Bill Keneally, nor do I want one. I want to get another four-wheel drive truck, but not an RV. All right, folks, going to leave it right here as we're coming up on 6:30. Hope everybody had a great weekend and had a good Monday. We will be back at 9:15 tonight with my colleague Joe Rayo on my Facebook page for the Joe and Joe Show. So by all means, do tune into that. It's on my Facebook page, meteorologist Joe Cioffi, or on Joe Rayo's Facebook page, Joe Rayo Weather. And other than that, I think, by the way, I did do a short live stream this morning. I think I want to get into the habit of doing a short morning live stream to just kind of update things, since the videos, waiting 24 hours is a little bit much, especially if you have breaking weather. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start doing a very short live stream in the late morning, maybe keeping it basically between 5 and 10 minutes, or at most 10 minutes, and just go through the weather that we have, and then spend the live stream in the evening updating that, and then of course looking at the long range. So I'm going to try that and see if I can balance that with my schedule, and I'm hoping that I can. All right. Thanks a lot, folks. Thanks for supporting me. Have a great evening. Hold on, Anthony's got it as the Raymond. Do the mountains enhance the line of storms in Albany? I don't know a whole lot about how the climate works in upstate New York. I mean, certainly, the thunderstorms can be enhanced under certain conditions by the mountains, and they can also be reduced. So I think you have to kind of look. The hilly terrain, does have its impact, but a lot depends on other things that are going on in the atmosphere and how they interact. So I don't have a whole lot of time to get into that. And again, I'm familiar with how things happen here, down my way, and oftentimes the thunderstorms that happen as you go north and west in some of the mountainous terrain, quote unquote mountainous terrain in northern New Jersey, and on up into the Catskills, they've been known to enhance thunderstorm activity under certain conditions. But I think a lot depends on what the mesoscale environment is, and each every weather system is different, and you just have to kind of deal with them one at a time. All right, folks, so let's leave it there. Have a great evening. We will see you hopefully at Facebook at 9:15, otherwise at some point tomorrow morning. If I'm going to do it, I'm thinking, if I do the morning live stream, it'll probably be around 11 o'clock Eastern time.